Hi, this is Kurt Christensen, and on this short video, I'm going to teach you how to own and profit from Bitcoin, all in 30 minutes or less. So quickly, what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is both a payment system and a stock or asset. You know how personal computers changed the world in 1975? The internet did it again in 93, and Bitcoin is doing it again right now in 2014. Only 120 million Bitcoins will ever be found or mined. So it's somewhat of an anomaly. It's very rare that you have something that's both a payment system, for example, to replace the Visa, MasterCard credit card network or the banking ACH system, but also a store of value and an asset. And of course, unlike the world's fiat currency, Bitcoins are limited in supply and not based on debt or fractional banking at all. So they're outside the control of government, and they're actually deflationary in the sense that no more can artificially be printed like we've had with the QE issues in the United States, where the economy is going slow, the government wants to spur investment and spur spending, and so they just print more money. That doesn't happen with Bitcoins. So where do Bitcoins come from? Well, with paper money, a government decides when to print and distribute the money. Bitcoin does not have a central government. It's created by using what are called Bitcoin mining computers. And so people who are set up these computers, they use special software to solve complex math problems and issued a certain number of Bitcoins in exchange. This provides a smart way to issue the currency and also creates an incentive for more people to mine the coins. There's also a secondary aspect to the network that these computers also verify and record the transactions that take place through the network. So in the beginning, the computers are doing more mining and creating new coins, and as the network evolves and gets more established, they're used to facilitate the transfers and the transactions between Bitcoin account holders. So Bitcoin, if you follow the news at all, is been hot in the news. It's been insane the last couple years, and actually there's many people that suggest that Bitcoin value could go to $10,000 very soon. My personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, that sometime before the end of 2015, and I'll go ahead and document this right now, Bitcoin will be at $2,000 sometime before the end of 2015. You know, I'm not sure it'll stay at that price level, but I think that we'll have a little surge back up to that at the very least. And here's a slide that shows the past prices of Bitcoin. This is a logarithmic chart, so it kind of flattens out the exponential nature. If you track things on a regular chart, everything turns into like a hockey stick looking graph, you know, where it starts out slow and then accelerates very quickly. But if you put these all on a logarithmic chart, you can see the 1, 10, 100, and 1,000, smooths it out and allows us to do linear regressions a little bit better. Linear regression is just basically a mathematical prediction of where the price could go. And you can see where we're at right here. This is the beginning of the year. We're more down end of the year right here, and the price is somewhere in this range right here. We're not at 1,000. We're not at 100, so we're probably right in this range. So we're actually lagging a little the predicted nature of these lines, but I have a feeling this holiday season, the prices are going to spike back up again on Bitcoin. If you're familiar with the world of internet marketing or venture capital, you've probably heard of Tim Draper. He was actually the world's first venture capitalist, the guy behind Hotmail. And his prediction is the Bitcoin's price still headed to $10,000. And then Richard Branson, the billionaire, who obviously owns many different kinds of companies, the Virgin airline and record companies and things like that. He just put over $30 million into a Bitcoin processor called BitPay. And kind of a shocking one in the news. This is going to happen early in 2015. 70,000 Caribbean residents of the island of Dominica will all receive some Bitcoin as part of the government is switching all government payouts and welfare and reimbursements and anything dealing with money in the government to Bitcoin in March of 2015. So what do you think that's going to do to the price? And of course, there's many ETFs with the Winklevoss twins. If you ever saw the movie about Facebook, the Winklevoss twins own a sizable percentage of all Bitcoins, and they're actually going to create an ETF based around Bitcoins. So what can you do with Bitcoins? Well, currently Just about anything, any kind of shopping you want to do online, you can do with Bitcoin. It gets bigger and bigger. They've just completed some agreements with PayPal to integrate Bitcoin into PayPal. But of course, big major companies like Dell.com, Overstock.com, Google.com, just the list goes on and on. And this list is getting added to every single day. And these are just obviously the major retailers, not to mention the thousands upon thousands of small mom and pop retailers who already accept Bitcoin. But Bitcoin does have an element of science fiction to it. If you follow Bitcoin at all, there's all these crazy predictions of what could happen with the price and all the things it could do and the things that it could change. Well, let's kind of discount all of that and say, well, we're not sure about the science fiction nature of it. We're not sure that Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million a coin or anything like that. But I want to share with you 4 things for sure Bitcoin solves right now. Because if we have enough reasons that Bitcoin solves problems right now with today's current technology, that makes it much more likely to be adapted by the mass markets, by second and third world countries, and by the marketplace as a whole. So here's 4 things that Bitcoin solves immediately. Number 1 is international remittance. This map from The Guardian in the UK shows that there was $500 billion of international remittance transacted in 2011. So international remittance is simply when you have immigrants that live in one country that send money back to their home country. So typically in the past, they did this through the banking networks or Western Union or companies like that. The only problem with that is it's very, very expensive. These people were charged outrageous fees, up to 10% of the amount that they were sending. You can see just in the U.S. alone, there was 120 billion sent overseas. You can see 10 billion to India, 23 billion to Mexico, 13 billion back to China, 10 billion to the Philippines. All those transactions are, extremely, for the immigrants who are earning the money, that's a large loss to take to just simply transfer money from one place to another. With Bitcoin, international remittance, the fees go from up to 10% to basically nothing. And it's immediate with no cost, no transaction fees, and no hassle. So right there, number 1, Bitcoin is a huge boom for international remittance. The second thing is it allows most of the countries of the world to skip over the necessity of having a modern banking system. I'm not sure how much traveling you've done, but in the United States and Canada and North America and Western Europe, we take a modern established banking system for granted. We do not have any idea how primitive banking and financial transactions are in the rest of the world. If you take a look at this map, it shows you where the modern banking system is established. Basically, we have North America, Western Europe, Australia, and somewhat in South Africa. But even South Africa is on a semi-periphery. India is semi-periphery. China is semi-periphery. Japan is a first world banking system. But what about the rest of the world? All of Africa, all of South America, and most of Asia are without a modern established banking system. Bitcoin allows them to skip over the necessity of having that banking system. Just like mobile and cellular phones have allowed, for example, I traveled a lot in Africa this past summer. In Africa, I don't remember even seeing a landline phone, but everybody has a cell phone. So it actually allowed them tremendous savings, and they didn't have to put in all the infrastructure for landlines, and they just went to cell phone. The exact same thing is going to happen with Bitcoin. Instead of having to establish all these banking branches all over in small villages, a villager with a cell phone with an internet connection has Bitcoin already on it, and it can transact business with villagers, with people in town, with banks, with whatever they want to do. So huge benefit for allowing them to skip over the modern banking system. The third one is micropayments. Up until now, micropayments have been kind of a huge problem that's never been solved. Because the way the banking systems work now, for example, if I want to, if I'm on a news website and I don't want to pay the whole subscription and pay $15 or $20 a month for a subscription, I just want to read this one article, and it's 5 cents. Well, the problem with the modern credit card system or any sort of banking transaction is it's going to cost me more than 5 cents to make the transaction. So there's no way that the owner of the site is going to be able to set that up and make any money with it. With micropayments through Bitcoin, the transactions are essentially free. They're not necessarily free. There are a fraction of some pennies that they do pay to validate the transaction. Later on down the road, that will be mandatory. Currently, it's actually free if you're willing to wait a few more minutes for the transaction to verify. You don't have to pay anything at all. So micropayments. Imagine going to a site like the New York Times. Instead of having to subscribe for a month subscription, you could just buy one article for 5 cents or another article for 3 cents. And you can make those transactions just by clicking on a button. Click on the button, it debits your account, 3 cents, 5 cents, whatever. Boom, you can read the article. Huge for micropayments. The other one is public payments. This is a famous story. If you want to read more about this story, just Google, "Hi Mom, send Bitcoin." And this is a screenshot of a kid who printed out this. You see there on the screen on the left-hand side. This is what's called a QR code. So the QR code is a cell phone readable Bitcoin address. I mean, you can use QR codes for other things, but in this case, that's what it is. So anybody who saw this on TV and held up their phone in front of this picture right here, and then clicked, send 1 Bitcoin, half a Bitcoin, a tenth of a Bitcoin, sent this college kid some money. So just as a guess, how much money do you think he got sent from this banner appearing on national television? Well, he actually was sent $26,000 worth of Bitcoin. So you can imagine the possibilities. There's a protest somewhere in the world, and they get on CNN, and one of them shows up, a sign: "If you'd like to help us put an end to whatever, send Bitcoin to this address." Now all of a sudden it's immediate. No transaction costs, no delay, no issues at all. So Bitcoin has huge amount of possibilities. Obviously, there's like I mentioned before, what I would call the science fiction aspect of things that could change. But I just wanted to share with you very quickly what it already has changed. And those 4 reasons I think are very, very valid reasons that Bitcoin is here to stay. So when we talk about Bitcoin, obviously you can just go out and buy Bitcoin, and we're going to show you here in a minute how to get what's called a Coinbase.com account. You get a Coinbase.com account, and you can just set up a free account, and you can convert US dollars or whatever currency in the world into Bitcoin, and then just use it that way. The second way of acquiring Bitcoin is by actually doing the mining. Remember, we talked about earlier about Bitcoin mining machines, and Bitcoin mining is nothing more than a money printing machine, literally. There's nothing new to learn or screw up. The great thing about Bitcoin mining is it's not like you have to be a computer programmer to know how to do it. And also, there's no real work involved. If you have the computer set up, the software running to do the mining, that's all there is to it. Of course, you do need to monitor it and things like that, make sure it doesn't crash and the power stays on and all those things. But it allows you to make an investment in something that turns into completely passive income. And once you set it up, there really is no time investment needed other than checking your accounts and just to make sure that it's still running. Now, Bitcoin mining has gone through 3 stages. So when Bitcoin was released to the public in about 2010, you could actually mine Bitcoin with any regular computer, any regular desktop computer. However, it quickly became exponentially harder, and it's no longer profitable to mine with just a regular Joe Blow computer like the one that I'm recording this on or the one that you're watching this on. It doesn't work. They're just not fast enough. They don't do the calculations quickly enough to even pay for the electricity that computer is going to consume creating that Bitcoin. So the next stage was what were called GPU computers. People figure out, hey, wait a second, we've got these high-end graphics cards, and these graphics cards aren't all that expensive, and they can allow us to do these transactions and crunch these numbers much more quickly than a regular computer. And so people would, create souped-up computers essentially, and the time of the GPU computers was from about 2011 to mostly through 2012 into 13. And then we came into the third stage of Bitcoin mining, which is the stage that we're in now. And that's where we have ASIC machines, which is application-specific integrated circuits. So these are only used for Bitcoin mining. So if you're looking for Bitcoin computers, you'll notice most of them are ASIC machines. That's all that they do. They don't do, can't play games on them, can't connect to the internet. Well, they connect to the internet. You can't check your email, anything like that. They basically get problems off the internet, solve them, spit them back out, and create Bitcoin. So basically, they are essentially supercomputers. They process millions and millions of times faster than a regular desktop computer, but only for one specific problem, the problem of the Bitcoin machines are solving. So, of course, the problems with buying the hardware and doing it yourself, you can see this is a little bit dated now, but this is a GPU machine setup. You can see all the wires going everywhere, and they've got at least 5 or 6 or maybe even 10 different rigs running in there. The problem with doing it yourself by buying all the hardware, you can't really go down to Best Buy and buy these machines anymore. You can buy them online, but the big problem is if you're going to do this in your home or office is the heat. These machines, because they're processing such tremendous speeds, generate an enormous amount of heat. They also generate an enormous amount of noise. They sound like a very small airplane with the whooshing noise constantly there in the background. And of course, the high electricity costs. These machines essentially are turning electricity into Bitcoin. Right? They receive the power into the machine. The machine with the power does the computer processing and uploads the solved problems to the internet and collects the Bitcoin. But in most places in the world, you're probably going to be paying too much in electricity to really, really make it work. The best places that they have for Bitcoin, large-scale Bitcoin mining operations are where the power is the cheapest. And actually, places like Iceland, which is actually has extremely cheap electricity, and they don't have as much problem with the heat, obviously, because it's in Iceland. They just use the outside air to cool. But also here in Washington State, in central Washington, has some of the cheapest power on the planet because of all the hydro dams. Those are where a lot of the Bitcoin server farms have chosen to locate. So, to do it yourself, obviously, the preferable thing would be to live in one of those locations, have cheap electricity costs, have a big warehouse. Obviously, you're no longer talking about just buying the machines. You're talking about buying all the infrastructure. And with all that comes, tremendous amount of maintenance and hassle to make sure the power's on, make sure they're all running, check them. And also some amount of technical know-how. It's not like you have to be a programmer to set up these machines and run it, but we're dealing with how much power consumption and optimizing all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that gets into some engineering problems. So the second and the kind of the not so obvious problem is the supply of machines. This is a fascinating economics problem. Actually, I have a degree in economics, so I find this kind of stuff, highly interesting. But if you've ever read any books like Freakonomics or Predictably Irrational or any books like that, this question of the supply of the machines and the time delays is in the news a lot right now. Because what you're having is anytime that there's a quantum leap, so to speak, in the processing power, people are getting brand new machines that are processed at much higher speeds. They plug them in, and then almost immediately they pay for themselves. They pay for themselves in a matter of 2 weeks or something like that. But as those machines get flooded into the market and those orders are filled, obviously the network increases its processing power and becomes less profitable. It's still profitable, just less profitable. So this huge issue of the supply of machines and time delays is something you can't neglect if you're interested in this. And in fact, there was a major FTC issue with a company called Butterfly Labs. So Butterfly Labs was this company that was creating or building the servers and then taking the money from people, tens of thousands of people, paid cash up front, and Butterfly Labs, it turns out, was keeping the machines in their warehouse just plugging them in, running the machines, making money from the Bitcoin, and then boxing them back up months later and sending them out to the customers, right? So absolutely insane. By the time, they failed to deliver, like it says here, tens of thousands of computers and delivered others so late that they were obsolete. For example, we talked about the 3 stages of Bitcoin mining. Once things progress fast enough, obviously there is some obsolescence of these machines. When they can't process fast enough to pay for the electricity, they're unplugged and repurposed to do other things. And if you're interested in looking at Bitcoin mining hardware, this is one of the best review sites that I found, is to go to bitcoinmininghardware.com, and it'll show you kind of the prices and how it breaks down. The way that things are priced now is it's all based on what the hashing power is. I'm just going to cut to the chase. Hashing power is the most important thing. So you can see from this is a current price list that pretty soon we're going to have 6 terahertz machines out. So one machine that can do 6 terahashes a second, right? So that machine would run at $10,000. Now it says coming. So remember our prior thing about actually getting the machine. So that's the big gotcha with buying hardware. I could put down probably $10,000 today to buy this Titanium 2, but I'm not going to get it anytime soon. And if I don't get it for a year, it's not going to be profitable. If I get it today, it would be, right? Because 6 terahertz is more than the other processing on the market. For example, you can see, kind of the top of the line machines are like 5.5 terahertz for $3,600. 1.7 for $795. I think this one, okay, these are different, not mining Bitcoin because it's only 400 megahertz, but it says Litecoin script. 3 terahertz for $6,000. And you can see that, from the different companies that make these servers. So, that's the big problem, is you have all the infrastructure costs, the electricity costs, and not to mention just getting the hardware. So I wanted to get into Bitcoin, but I didn't want to have all the hassles of buying my own hardware. So I found another way. So here's my quick and easy 3-step solution. Number 1, go to Coinbase.com, get an account and fund it. So Coinbase.com is an online wallet. So you go to Coinbase, you link up your account to a checking account, and you take some US dollars and convert it into Bitcoin. It takes a few days for that to settle. That's the most annoying part of the whole process, is if I buy the Bitcoin today, it'll give me the price that Bitcoin is at today, but it takes a couple days for the transaction to fully fund. Okay. Number 2, buy a 5-year mining contract with bitcoinminingmadeeasy.com. That's an affiliate redirect. I did research for about 2 to 3 weeks looking at all the different mining contracts out there. So the way the mining contract works is you don't have to buy the hardware. You're just leasing a certain amount of processing power. Remember, we talked about this was denominated in either gigahertz or terahertz, right? Terahertz is kind of the what the speeds are going to now. So if you go to bitcoinminingmadeeasy.com, you can buy a mining contract anywhere from 25 gigahertz, which is nothing, for $13.01, all the way to you could spend $15,605 for 30,000 gigahertz, which is 30 terahertz. Personally, I have about 7 terahertz of processing from this exact company. Okay, and it works fabulously well. Your account, instead of having to wait for delivery and getting machines imported from China or all those sorts of things, when you pay them, you're going to get your processing started within 12 hours. And the third thing is they just then deposit the Bitcoin that you've mined every single week back into your Coinbase account every Saturday night. And frankly, that's it. It's very, very simple. It's not that complicated, and it's still extremely profitable. When you read about all these different talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, everybody's going to concentrate on saying that Bitcoin mining is no longer profitable and that mining contracts don't work, if you read on Reddit or any place around the internet. However, that's true unless you can get the mining contracts at a cheap enough price to make it worthwhile. And so I want to show you, don't just take my word for it, but go to a mining calculator. This is probably the best one that I found at the vnbitcoin.org/bitcoincalculator.php, and plug it in, and you can go through the profitability calculator, and it'll tell you exactly how much you stand to make or lose using this as Bitcoin mining. Because obviously, we're talking about the long-term potential of Bitcoin is unlimited. However, today, in the real world, Bitcoin is at currently $372. So let's just assume that the Bitcoin price is not going to go anywhere. It's going to be $372. That's not true. Obviously, it's going to go up. It's going to go down. I think long term, like I said, it's going to go to at least $2,000 one time by the end of 2015. But let's not even bank on that. Let's just bank on a stable Bitcoin price of 372. And if I go into this Bitcoin profitability mining calculator, it's going to show me what kind of results I can expect. So if I go in and just the site I'm showing, I'm going to plug in, as an example, we're going to plug in, what if we bought 4 terahertz, which is 4,000 gigahertz, for the current price that you can get at my mining company, right? It would be $2,081 in today's price, 4,000 gigahertz, you can say. And I'm going to say I'm not going to have to wait 90 days. I'm going to get started today. I don't have to pay anything for power, right? Because I'm not using any power. They're paying for power, so I put in zeros for all that. All the rest of the stuff, keep the same. Bitcoins per block, the rate, which is today's rate, and how often the difficulty goes up, 3% Bitcoin difficulty, and hit submit. It's going to show you how long to break even on that $2,081. So this obviously makes some estimates on how much the difficulty is going to go up. But it's showing right now, if I started mining today on that contract, it would take me 126 days to break even. And if I show the calculations, it'll show how long that would be. So if I divide 126 by 7, that gives me, let me pull it up, 126 divided by 7, that's 18 weeks to break even. Okay, so a little over 4 months. You can see this predicted this would break even by about April 8th. So it's that simple. So it's one of those things. It's a scalable investment. You don't have to put in tons and tons of money. I have about 7 terahertz total, but like we showed an example, you can use it all the way from. You can buy as little as pay $13 for 25 gigahertz, all the way up to, in one order, you can spend $15,000 for 30 terahertz. The examples that I used, just to put it in round, easy numbers, we were purchasing 4 terahertz contract, and it cost us, at today's price, 5.6 Bitcoin, or $2,081 US. So that's saying I would get those $2,081 back in the form of Bitcoin in this case, 18 weeks. So what happens after that? Well, of course, after that, it continues to mine and continues to profit. However, the difficulty does increase over time, of course. The difficulty this time is showing that it's adjusting each time by about 2.97%. And actually, the difficulty just got easier just a few days ago, but in general, you can bank on the difficulty getting harder as we go up. So it's not like it'll be a constant income stream. The amount mined will, after our payback period, is going to decrease each week, bit by bit, until it kind of trickles away into nothing. At the end of 5 years, I don't expect it'll still be making anything, if hardly anything or anything at all. However, of course, my whole goal is to get a return on investment, and that looks like current predictions at these prices and these difficulty rates and all that at 18 weeks. Of course, if Bitcoin doubles, makes it a lot easier. If Bitcoin goes up to 1,000, makes it even easier. Bitcoin goes down, makes it a little bit harder. But that's the current predictions on this. So here's some tips. Number 1, get your Coinbase account verification done immediately, as soon as you can. It takes a few days for the dollars to come from your bank account to be converted into Bitcoin. So if you're going to do this, if you want to start with a mining contract, you can do that with any size that you want. You could buy one contract today and buy another one 2 weeks, another one 3 weeks. There's no problem with that. But the delay is getting the dollars converted into Bitcoin to pay for the mining contract. Of course, you can just buy Bitcoin through Coinbase. If you just want to buy some Bitcoin, get a Coinbase.com account, convert some dollars into Bitcoin, and sit on it, hold it. In my opinion, it's not as interesting, obviously, as mining, and doesn't have the profit potential, but you do obviously would benefit from any substantial increases in Bitcoin. The mining allows you basically to purchase Bitcoin at less than market value. It's at $327 today. If I can mine it successfully for a year and make back, what I paid plus 50% even, I'm getting Bitcoin for less than market price. Number 2, you can't make bigger purchases even if your Coinbase account is verified until your first purchase clears. Okay, just so you know. And here's what it's going to look like inside your mining account. So this is my mining contract with the company that I showed you. And you can see, so far my total payout, if you add these all up, is about, let's see, 3.1 something. 3.1 Bitcoins have come back to me. And this is the amount that if I hit refresh on the screen, this number is constantly going up. And this amount, it'll be about half a Bitcoin gets paid out to me every single Saturday night. So I paid about 9.7 total Bitcoins to get these accounts. So I'm about a third of the way paid off so far. So 3-step solution. If you're interested in getting into Bitcoin, get a Coinbase.com account and fund it. Buy a 5-year mining contract with the company that I use, Bitcoin Mining Made Easy. That's my affiliate link. I do get a little bit of credit if you sign up using me. Obviously it doesn't cost you anything more. They just credit a little bit to my mining contracts, allow me to make a referral fee essentially. And you can do this any size from, you can spend $13 all the way to $15,000. Personally, I have about 7 terahertz so far, and that generates me right around 0.5 to 0.6 Bitcoins per week. And then other than that, you check your Coinbase.com account every Saturday night and watch as the Bitcoin comes rolling in. So thanks everyone. Thanks for watching this short video. And it will actually take you less time to set up all your accounts and get this started than it did to watch this video. So thanks everyone. Talk to you soon.